I don't think I will ever get tired of rereading the Temeraire books. This is my 5th reread of the first book, His Majesty's Dragon, and I love it just as much as all the previous times. So I will be talking about my thoughts on book 1 in the Temeraire series, His Majesty's Dragon. First, I will be doing my non-spoilery thoughts, and then at the end of this video, I will have a spoiler section, but I will give clear warning before I go into the spoiler section. First off, this is the book that I had. This is the very first cover edition that I had whenever I read the Temeraire series for the first time. All of the books had this similar art style. And then I decided to get the entire set with the new cover editions, which I absolutely love. And whenever I get the full set, there will be an image on the side of the spines, but I don't have the full set yet. But I absolutely love these new cover editions. I think they're gorgeous. And with that, let's get into the review. A common pitch for the Temeraire books is the Napoleonic Wars with dragons, which is accurate and it is the setting for these books, but I don't feel like that's the best way to describe these books. While there is some battles in these books, it is mostly a character-focused story. It focuses on the relationships and the day-to-day lives of these characters. In some ways, I kind of want to call it a cozy fantasy, but it also deals with some heavy themes. So I don't think cozy fantasy is the best term for it. Maybe the term I'm looking for is like a character-driven slice of life book that also has battles. At the start of the book, we meet this naval captain named Lawrence who is in the middle of capturing a French ship, and he finds a dragon egg aboard. And he has heard that it is really important to bond with the dragon as soon as they are hatched, and he reluctantly becomes this dragon's companion. In doing this, he has to give up his ship. He was a naval captain. He has to give up his ship and his life in the Navy and join the Dragon Air Force. And the Air Force is not well regarded, and Lawrence has to confront his own negative opinion of the Air Force while he is growing increasingly attached to Temeraire, and their bond is really forming and forging, and they are just growing in love for each other. And Temeraire is an absolutely delightful dragon to see grow up. He has this inquisitive energy. He's so curious about everything around him. He almost has this puppy-like feeling to him. He wants to fly around and see things about the world. He wants to go investigate these clouds, and he's just so curious about everything. And he's also super excited to be in his first battle. He thinks it sounds so exciting, and he kind of gets bored with some of the training he has to do in order to prepare to be in his first battle, because he just wants to like dive in head first. Temeraire is also a very intelligent dragon. He is one of the intelligent breeds of dragons, and he just has this thirst for knowledge. So he convinces Lawrence to read books to him. He wants to learn about science and mathematics and history. And Lawrence is not a strong reader, and he's not a person who's really well versed in all of these subjects. Lawrence loves Temeraire so much, and his love for Temeraire outweighs his dislike of reading, so he buys books and reads to Temeraire every evening. The friendship between Lawrence and Temeraire is really what brings me back to these books. It is such a delight to read about. Temeraire is also a dragon, and he loves jewels and gold, and there is a point, it's one of the most beautiful scenes in the book, where Lawrence is explaining to Temeraire that he's not wealthy enough to buy Temeraire all the jewels and gold that Temeraire could want, or that Lawrence could even want to give to Temeraire. And Temeraire says to him, "I should rather have you than a heap of gold, even if it were very comfortable to sleep on." And then later, Temeraire is asking Lawrence if Lawrence would prefer to go back to his ship and to continue his life in the Navy instead of having all of that uprooted because of Temeraire. And Lawrence says to Temeraire, "I'd rather have you than any ship in the Navy." And this is just in part 1 of the book, and I absolutely love that it's like bookending this plot point that I'm not going to get into too much, but it's bookending it with the two characters choosing each other. So like Temeraire chooses Lawrence, even if it's not like the most grandiose life, and Lawrence chooses Temeraire for the same reason. He gave up his entire livelihood, his career, his everything, and is just changing careers because of Temeraire, and Lawrence comes to choose it. And I love it so much. Lawrence also has a very strong sense of duty and patriotism, and that has a lot to do with why he even agreed to become the Dragon Companion in the first place, because Lawrence is aware of how desperate England is for dragons fighting in the war against Napoleon. England is outmatched in the Air Force, and Lawrence is aware of this, and that sense of duty and patriotism is part of what leads him to become a dragon rider. However, Temeraire does not have this sense of duty and patriotism. Temeraire doesn't understand why they have to do anything that they don't like doing, and why they can't just like fly off and do their own thing and whatever. And Temeraire often asks really thoughtful questions to Lawrence that makes Lawrence reevaluate his own positions on things and kind of go, wait a minute, why am I doing these things? But at the same time, Lawrence kind of reins Temeraire in a little bit and is like, okay, we do have to train and do boring things if we want to participate in the battles. And he kind of helps Temeraire be okay with going along with things that Temeraire doesn't always want to do. So I really like the push and pull between these two characters, how they're constantly pushing each other to be better people and to evaluate their positions and really think through why they're doing what they're doing. And I love these two characters so much. And with that, I am going to get into the spoiler section. If you don't want spoilers, click off the video now, and there will be spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Okay, spoiler time. One of the things I loved in this series was Lawrence was really getting attached to Temeraire, and of course can see Temeraire is this beautifully intelligent dragon. And then they show up to start their training, and Lawrence realizes that the training master is a dragon, and Lawrence is kind of thrown off by this because he was not expecting that dragons could hold these positions of rank in the Air Force. And this is just like another example of Lawrence having to confront his personal biases and his preconceived notions about life in the Air Force or the Dragon Corps. And this is something that like just continues to happen, and I love to see it. Lawrence also doesn't really feel like he fits in the Dragon Corps, and he finds one other person that he thinks is somewhat like him, that he found another person that he can get along with that cares about looking proper and acting proper the way Lawrence does. And then Lawrence realizes that this person, Rankin, that he has thought could be his friend in the Dragon Corps, is mistreating his dragon. And Lawrence is once again confronted with his preconceived notions and his ideas about the world. The Rankin and Levitas storyline, though, is so sad. All the feels, because Levitas deserves better. Justice for Levitas. It was really satisfying whenever Lawrence comes and gets Rankin whenever Levitas is dying, and the other officers are like, hey, wait a minute, what is going on? And then as soon as they realize, they totally just go like, oh yeah, no, that's fine. And they let Lawrence drag Rankin out to Levitas. Like, that scene was satisfying, but it was also heartbreaking. Levitas just wanted Rankin to be approving. He was seeking approval and love from his captain, and he finally got a tiny taste of it at the end, but it felt like too little too late, and it was so heartbreaking. And But to talk more about Temeraire, one of the things I noticed, and again, this is the 5th time I've read this book, one of the things I noticed this time that didn't really bother me previously was just how special Temeraire is. So Temeraire is a different breed of dragon from like all the other dragons. And we almost constantly are like, oh, Temeraire can have this special skill that we didn't know about previously. And Temeraire can do this special thing we didn't know about previously. And Temeraire also can do this special thing that we didn't know about previously. And it just felt like, you know, Temeraire is super duper special because Temeraire is the protagonist dragon. And I mean, that's kind of true to an extent. There's other reasons. It's the breed of dragon Temeraire is. And it is kind of balanced out by the fact that Temeraire is around dragons that are very different from him, and Temeraire is insecure about that. And he's insecure about what sets him apart from the other dragons. And he's also insecure about the fact that he can't breathe fire or spit venom because he wants to be helpful and useful in this war. I don't know, it was just, maybe it was because I was reading the book faster this time that I was starting to go like, oh, just another special thing Temeraire can do. But overall, I didn't notice it previously, and I still enjoy the story, and I still think there's reasons, you know, their different breeds have different strengths. One of the scenes I found really interesting this time as well is when Lawrence was reading to Temeraire about the myths of dragons in history. And Temeraire asked Lawrence after hearing the story, hey, can dragons really become human? Can humans really become dragons? And then Temeraire says that it would be nice, not necessarily to become human because he wants to be human, but he wants to have the ability to read and write for himself. And that scene just hits differently when you know the rest of the story, when you've read the rest of the books. But I don't want to say any more because that's not included in book 1, and I am not doing spoilers past book 1. So those are my thoughts. If you have anything you want to say about any of this, let me know in the comments, and I hope to see you in another video. Happy reading.